What up, everyone? Yes, it's that time again to sit back, relax, and enjoy this Q&A edition of the Lucha Lounge. Yes, Q&A. I finally got enough questions to fill up a segment, although in the future, if I get a couple, not a big deal. Now, it's been a little over a month, about a month and 3 days. Not that I'm counting, hopefully a month and 4 by the time this is uploaded. Seen some movies, you know, the ones I talked about, like The Goods, District 9, you know, I could cover those. I could cover wrestling, the fact that I saw SummerSlam, but did not see Breaking Point or the last TNA pay-per-view. But I have more or less watched wrestling as religiously as I can. And have liked some things and have not liked some things. But again, this is more about Q&A. I could even talk about what's been going on with me as far as the wrestling stuff, but I will cover some of that really quickly, just because, you know, you come watch because I talk about wrestling. I've been busy, you know. Had XWO on the 5th, had an IWE appearance at the Reliance Center for a Fiesta sponsored event in association with LMI, so kind of a cross promoting of sorts. Then I had TASW on the 12th. I've got IWE this weekend. I've got TCW this weekend, where I defend my title against Ryan Genesis in TCW's new venue in Austin, Texas. So if you're in Austin, you see this, come look us up. May stop by ACW, check them out later on that Sunday evening. Trying to think of anything else, and you know, end of the month I believe I have NEW, but what I figure I'm going to do is probably cover that in another video, talk about the month that was being September and the month that will be being October. One last thing, IWE's releasing their Welcome to the Evolution DVD. Yes, we are, on September 19th, this Saturday, in culmination with our show, which will feature our very first Battle Royal for a guy who will earn a title shot at our October 3rd Give Me Some More DVD taping. But anyway, so September 19th, we'll have the release of Welcome to the Evolution, which was shot back July 18th, and we're going to cover the story of how we got to that DVD taping from Crowning a Champion to Welcome to the Evolution, and kind of where everything went, the roller coaster ride that is indie wrestling, or professional wrestling. But without further ado, I have 4 people ask me questions, but I got quite a bit of questions from the last person who asked me. So I'm going to go in the order that I received them. And if you have any questions, you want my honest opinion of things, feel free to message me on YouTube. Go to my MySpace, Steve DeMarco. Go to my Facebook, Steve DeMarco. I don't have Twitter yet, but you never know. But usually the easiest thing is, if you're watching this on YouTube, might as well just write me up a message and ask me a question, because if I get some questions, I'll be answering them. So here we go. First question's from Honor Hammer 26, asking me if I were to ever work at Ring of Honor, who would I like to feud with? Now, when he asked this question, I would have said Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson, but they're not there. You know, there's a whole slew of talent. I hate to be cliche and say that, but there's a whole lot of talent there. There's Jimmy Rave, there's the Briscoes, there's the American Wolves, there's Rhett Titus, there's Kenny King, there's Austin Aries. There's a whole list of guys. Tyler Black, Jimmy Jacobs, Necro Butcher. There's just so many. You know, and realistically, my idea of coming in, if I were to ever work for ROH, is just to kind of earn a spot, you know, and face guys like Chris Hero, guys like Eddie Kingston, you know, just Delirious. I mean, the list goes on and on. Brett Albright, Cole Cabana, you know, Jerry Lynn when he's healthy, and so on and so forth. But, you know, I really don't have a specific guy. Of course, you know, I'd love to go for the title or get a tag partner and go after the tag titles, you know, against guys who have the belts like the American Wolves or Steen and Generica. I mean, there's a whole bunch of guys, so it's really hard to pinpoint one, because, you know, I would just like the honor of working for that company if I ever was given it. Hopefully that answers your question. Honor Hammer 26. The Wrestling Hero 09 asks me basically, you know, at what age do professional athletes, which also includes MMA fighters, boxers, and professional wrestlers, do people start to get past their prime? Now, I can't speak for MMA fighters or boxers, but I would say, you know, once you get into your 40s, you're starting that downward slope. Now, of course, you know, it depends on how much wear and tear, especially for wrestlers, how much wear and tear you have in your body, what your diet's been like, what your workout regimen's like. There's ways of extending and peaking, you know, later on in life. But, you know, I would say, you know, a safe bet is right around that 40-year mark, you're looking at diminishing skills possibly. But again, it just really depends. You know, there are some freaks of nature. There are guys who continue to work until their 60s or so. But, you know, I would say that. The next question you asked me, and I get this question a lot. I've gotten this question when I first started YouTube, and I kind of tell people what I'm going to tell them now. But his question is, you know, what wrestlers from WWE, TNA, or ROH do I know personally or talk to often? I don't know. I met a lot of the ROH guys when they came down for WrestleMania weekend. I had known a couple, you know, through just indie working, you know, knew them by reputation. I met a lot of guys when I worked for PWA, which is Booker T's promotion. You know, worked Umaga, worked, you know the likes of CM Punk, Shelton Benjamin, Carlito, Paul London, Brian Kendrick. I've known Paul a long time. Kendrick I've known, ran into a lot of those guys, met Undertaker, met Rob Van Dam. Worked in the ring with Sabu, Christopher Nowinski, former WWE talent. Tommy Dreamer I know on and off, you know, talked to a few times. Hernandez and I from TNA, we go way back. You know Homicide, know a few of those guys. Lance Hoyt, who's now Vance Archer at FCW, I've known him a long time. That's just to name a few. I know a lot of the AAA guys, but for the most part, I hate doing the name dropping. I hate saying who I know. I just know a bunch of guys. So there you go, Wrestling Hero 9. Next, Sponge Cake 7 asked me, you know, that I've mentioned wrestling in Mexico. What was it like, and how is it different than wrestling in the States? And I got to say, it is different. I don't want to say it's a night and day difference, but it is different. They treat it more as a sport. It is in their sports department in essence, so it's treated with a little more legitimacy, I believe. It's not laughed at or laughed upon. The fans are very respectful, not saying that American fans are not saying that fans in the States are not, because I've always encountered, you know, mostly respectful people everywhere I've gone. I will say that, you know, the ladies in Mexico are going above and beyond, but again, the same thing can be said in the States. You know, there's pros and cons to both. I liked working in Mexico. I liked working some of the talent, you know, but I live in the States and I enjoy working in the States, especially where I'm working at now. So, you know, there are differences. Like I said, a little more respectful. They treat it differently. It's just viewed differently. And I would tell any American worker, you know, if they get a chance to work in Mexico, maybe not now with the climate, you know, and things that are going on there. But, you know, when I was going up there a couple years back, it was fun to be had by all. But again, being in a van for many hours, just the road trip itself, it can be pretty, it can wear on you, just to put it that way. Now, my last question actually came through my MySpace and was from Universal Championship Wrestling, and his first question, or UCW's first question, was, when can we expect a new Lucha Lounge? And you're looking at it. Now, after this one, probably by month's end, I plan on putting out a month that was and talking a little bit about each match, what I thought of each, you know, and kind of the comings and goings of that, just as it pertains to my career. And then what's on the horizon for October. That would be my plan. So there's to answer your question. But this is the latest Lucha Lounge. Now, I got a lot of questions about best way to book a show. Now, I've booked other places, you know, done stuff in Arlington, done stuff in Austin, done stuff outside of Beaumont and Sour Lake. I've Now I'm at IWE. I've given my input on certain things. So, you know, I was asked the best way to book a show, and subsequent questions. Said best way to book a show is just to have a plan, have an idea of what you want to do, where you want to go, and what your ultimate goal is. And again, if you're the booker as opposed to the promoter's job is to promote and get people to come see the product. The booker's job is to put out a quality show and get the talent on board and create storylines and angles and learn, you know, get people in the right positions. So, how to produce a show, a quality show on a shoestring budget. Telling you what, you know, IWE, we work for the attendance. So again, if you are in the Houston area and you know where Armadillo Flea Market, see, I have to, you can't say that. Okay, let's go back. How do you produce a quality show on a shoestring budget? Now, I, above all people, have an idea of how to do that. IWE, we work for attendance, you know, whatever the gate is, however many people show up. We don't have any guarantee. It's whatever people come and watch the show, and we divvy up that way. So that can be a shoestring budget. But I'm going to say that if you are in the Houston area or around it, and you're not doing anything on a Saturday afternoon between the hours of 3 and 6, I would say come check us out. You will be pleasantly surprised and entertained if you know where the Armadillo Marketplace is. And if you don't, if you go to our MySpace, IWE Slam, and check out our vids on YouTube at IWE Slam TV. Again, cheap plug, I know. You get an idea where we're at and what we're doing. But back to the question, how to produce a quality show on a shoestring budget. Really, it's a matter of getting talent that's willing to work with you and understands what your budget is. I would say be pretty upfront with them and just accentuate this, you know, all the good things and really try to hide the bad things. If you don't have the greatest production value, don't worry about it at that time, just try to work with it. The most important thing is to get the fans to believe that it's a quality show. But really, you know, you just really have to work with your talent. You have to talk to them about what your budget is and what your goals are and what your plan is, and really look like you have a plan, seem to know what you're doing. And most wrestlers will kind of work with you. At least initially, they're willing to work with you. Some aren't. Some, you know, if you're going to try to get a lot of talent that has to travel far, I mean, I expect them to get a decent amount of pay. But if you talk to them about your budget and what you're looking at and ultimately what your goal is, you know, you can try to start to run shows, but ultimately you get what you pay for. Would I prefer to run smaller or larger towns? I've ran a really small town, didn't really help because for some reason people weren't aware of the show. You would think a smaller town, they'd have less to do, and if you just flyered a few of the hot spots, people would funnel in. But apparently that wasn't the case. Of course, I wasn't promoting the show, I was just in charge of putting the show together. You know, small towns, usually if they don't have anything going on that's community oriented, maybe they'll latch on to what you're bringing them, especially if, you know, you get the right people to talk about it, word of mouth and whatnot. Larger towns are tougher. I know in Houston especially, there's you know, so many companies and fans have, you know, become fickle about things and not always willing to come out and just watch a show, you know, which I'll cover a little bit later. But, you know, larger towns, they have their benefit. You know, if you can draw a big crowd, great. If you can be something that they want to come see, awesome. You know, there's more chance to sell merch, especially if you're going to try to bring in a bigger name because you want to get in a bigger crowd. But small towns, man, they're very receptive to what you're trying to do. Maybe they're not looking necessarily at, you know, WWE or TNA coming in, you know, whereas a larger town, they might wait for a WWE or an ROH or something like that, whereas a smaller town may not get that, and instead of having to travel, oh, you're there, we'll come see you. So Good number of workers on an active roster list. I would say between 15 and 20. You don't really want to go any more than 20. Again, depending on what you're trying to get across, what the basis of your promotion is. I look at it, I think at IWE I've got between 15 and 18, something to that effect. Roughly 15 is what I work with. Again, I've got about 6 matches, 5 to 6 matches, so that's a good number. Really what you want to have is enough workers to stress and kind of get over. You want enough interest in what you're bringing across. You don't want too big of a roster to where you can't give each guy their individual due. I mean, what I've tried to do, especially at IWE, is give each guy their chance to shine. And with a 15-man roster, you can kind of do that. I mean, a little bit less, definitely, 12, 10, great. And then you bring in guys as special attractions. But actively, I'd say no more than 15. 20, that's really stretching you, and depending on what you're trying to get across. And if you're running on a shoestring budget, like the earlier question said, you may want to look at a smaller roster. I've ran a roster of 10, I've ran a roster of 30, so now I'm at 15, so I've kind of found that nice medium ground, or middle of the road ground. Are managers a must? I wouldn't do a lot of managers. I have one at IWE. When I've done Uncut, I had a couple. But typically, it depends on what the manager's role is. Or what you feel that defines them. I think one really good, manager, especially if he's a heel and you've got a face authority, or, I don't really see the point of face managers in this day and age, only because what does a face manager really do outside of be a rah-rah guy? Same thing with valets. You don't want to have too many valets. You want to have just enough, unless you're doing something where you have one girl per match or something to that effect. But I always try to get each person over. So the more managers you have, the more creation of a stable or a faction. That's really where a manager should be. Has one guy and then starts bringing in other guys just to. Managers are good to have at times, especially if you don't have a guy who can talk, or if you have a guy who can, who needs that kind of enhancement in a way. Good number of titles to establish. I'd say no more than 2, and I would say you get your main belt initially, and have people chasing after that, always chasing after it, and then I would say maybe some tag belts, because eventually you're going to have tag teams. It shifts the focus from just the title, and as you grow, then great. The bigger your roster gets, and if there's a definite difference in your top guy as opposed to your mid-card guy, but really initially I'd say 2 titles. Your tag belts, so I guess 3. Your tag belts and your heavyweight title, and then as you grow and you've established that one title, and then maybe you establish the tag belts, then maybe bring in a secondary singles title. I just don't see the point to having a lot of titles, because then it's like every match is a title match, which would be fine, but then your main title may suffer because there's all these other belts that are being defended. And again, it depends on how you utilize your champion. And his final question, UCW's final question, sorry if it's a she, I wasn't sure. UCW though. UCW's final question is, would I use TNA or former WWE stars to build my company or build my own talent? They're kind of 2 rules of thumb. Again, if you're on a shoestring budget and you're trying to bring in names, WWE or TNA talent will cost you money unless you know them and they owe you a favor. And even at that, it's kind of a it may not be something you can do all the time. I definitely wouldn't bring in a former WWE or TNA guy in as pure the focal point. I'd make that person a special attraction, at least initially. I'd want to build my own talent, because when the former star, the WWE TNA guy's gone, what do you have left on your roster? I would build my roster first, build my talent, bring in a TNA or WWE, former WWE guy, just to kind of get your company over, give your company the rub. You know, you have them talking about your company, you put that out on YouTube, MySpace, wherever, or on DVD. That would be a good way. But initially what you want to do is just try to get the best guys you can who have some ability to work, who know what they're doing in the ring, and kind of go from there. And then once you build it, once you've established it, or in order to establish your champion or establish some of your guys, some of your roster, then I would bring in a name, I go quote unquote. Again, depending on the size of the city too, some people will only come out to watch if there is a name. So again, that was it for the Q&A. You know, I only had 4 guys and, you know, a total of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, about 11 questions. So, 20-minute video. Not too bad. Not too bad. But next time, again, I'm probably going to cover the month in review, what happened to me this last month and what's going on the upcoming month. Got some good things on the horizon for IWE and, you know, TASW. I'm in the mix, and XWO and NEW and TCW. I mean, there's just so many letters. But I appreciate all of you guys sitting back, relaxing, and enjoying this special Q&A edition. And again, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. I have no problem talking about them. I would advise you, if you can get your hands on any of the IWE or TASW or any of the stuff that I'm on, or the IWE stuff especially, hit us up. I know the 19th is going to be, we're going to talk about some stuff. I know I've filmed a lot of stuff over the last few weeks for it, and all I can say is I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out. I'm looking forward to seeing what Dojo Productions brings out. Again, hit me up. I've got a Palm Pre. It's got my Facebook and my MySpace. You know, add me as a friend. Come check me out. Send me a letter. Ask me a question. Feel free. I'm more than willing to answer. So again, appreciate all of you. Send me some feedback. Let me know what you think. I've got. Oh yeah. Also, I do have some footage from back around May, I believe. Me and Ryan Davidson took a trip to TCW to Austin for a TCW show. We had Jay from Dojo Productions with us, and we filmed some footage, you know, just talking about different, a variety of different topics. Now, it might be somewhat dated, and so I have a question, you know, would you like to see some of that footage? I plan on splicing it together and you know, us talking about, we talked about a lot of different topics. We talked about WWE, we talked about TNA, we talked about our opinions of the wrestling fan, wrestling mark, you know, the Benefans, all of it. We talked about a lot of it. We talked about IWE, we talked about other companies. So let me know. If I get enough people wanting to see that, then I'll definitely start working on it and putting it out here shortly. So again, I appreciate all of you. Have a very good weekend. If you are in the Houston area, come check out IWE. If you're in Austin on Sunday, come check out TCW or ACW, because I might be up there. And if you see me, if you see this guy with his nice hair and the beard, feel free to come say hey and shake my hand. Let's talk, because I'm always willing to talk. So again, I know I didn't say it last time, but you know what, guys? Just stay cool, stay sexy, stay classy. Better yet, tell all of your friends to come visit the Lucha Lounge. Let them know that this is a place where you can be cool, you can be sexy, and you can be classy, because you're here with me. Later.